Sports Illustrated came out with an article saying it will be a massive mistake if the 49ers lucratively extend Brock Purdy. What should the 49ers do with Brock Purdy, Nate? I know how you feel about Brock Purdy, so I got to
You know what?
Say.
You're going to let him play out the rest of his contract. You're not going to give him $60 million, and I think after this season, that idea is out the window. And while, yes, it's horrible that your team got hurt, right? We could blame Brock Purdy's lack of success on players getting hurt. This is exactly why Purdy shouldn't get $60 million. Because we've seen top-tier quarterbacks lose some of their top-tier playmakers and still find levels of success. What happens when your top wide receiver and top target on offense goes down? You become bottom of the NFC West, a weakened NFC West. So are we sure Brock Purdy is the guy to be making $60 million or close to $60 million per year? I don't think so. Not only that, I think the 49ers are in a soft rebuild. They let 17 players go. And some of the key playmakers, especially on defense, which has been their claim to fame since 2019, when they made the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, might I add. Hufunga's gone. He went over to the Broncos. I think that's a phenomenal move for them. Dre Greenlaw's gone. He went to the Broncos as well. They lost Hargrave. They lost Leonard Floyd. They lost Travarius Ward. These are some key playmakers on defense. They lost an interior offensive lineman. I mean, and you know what? Who would you sign back? Pinnock, who did nothing with the New York Giants. Mac Jones to be the backup. Richie Grant as safety. I mean, the pieces that they picked up are not, one-for-one pickups. And I don't think they're particularly close. So I think there's a high likelihood, really high likelihood, that the 49ers might be near the bottom of the NFC West again. And I think that right now you have to wait and see what Brock Purdy is again. Because, yeah, Brandon Ayuk went down, but you still had Deebo Samuel, who right now the Commanders are going to, I think they're going to use Deebo in a very effective manner. The Commanders are. And when it came to the 49ers, he was really the only key piece that you had. Because Ayuk went down, Ricky Pearsall got shot, so he wasn't exactly ready. George Kittle still was, based on passer rating when targeted to, he was the number one target in the NFL. He had over 136 passer rating when targeted to, I'm pretty sure. But no, I think right now the 49ers need to see what Brock Purdy is without the greatest depth in the NFL probably in the last 25 years. Because they had talent every which way you looked. Christian McCaffrey, by the way, he's going to be the X factor of this offense. It really has nothing to do with Brock Purdy at all. It has everything to do with Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy is just the guy who makes it all kind of come together. But Jimmy Garoppolo did that. Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy have the exact same accolades. Made it to 2 NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl, because obviously you need to make it to the championship game to get to the Super Bowl. So if you want to call it 1 Super Bowl and 1 NFC championship game, they did the exact same thing. And in fact, if you look up, and then this is going to be crazy, people are going to get mad at me about this, yards per attempt in the 2000s, or it might be yards per completion, but regardless, the number 2 guys, 1 and 2, are Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. 1 and 2. So, again, this is all the system. It's Kyle Shanahan's system. And also what fits into Kyle Shanahan's system beautifully is injuries. We take a look at some of the previous 49er teams. They are banged up badly. Like, there are wasted seasons in Jimmy Garoppolo's tenure with the 49ers where there was nobody healthy. Where the offense was banged up. The defensive line was banged up. Nick Bosa missed a bunch of games. Trent Williams went down and missed a bunch of games. That's kind of what the 49ers are. Last season, Christian McCaffrey couldn't play. So, Brandon Ayuk, out for the year. Deebo Samuel was your only target. Really, your only primary target. Ricky Pearsall had a couple nice games. But I said in 2023, the 2023-2024 season, that the MVP of the league should not be Brock Purdy because he basically goes along for the ride. You look at some of the throws that he made. People love to do this. The throws that he made. You take a look at some of those games. There's not a defender on the screen. And we're like, oh yeah, he has such great accuracy. The guys are open beyond belief. There's half a football field between them and the next guy. And might I add, in this previous year, this is why. You're not going to give a guy $60 million on a down year. Out of quarterbacks who had at least 200 pass attempts in 2024, Purdy ranked 25th in terms of catchable percentage. That accuracy that people always talk about. 25th in catchable passes. His target percentage ranked him 32nd out of 39 qualified quarterbacks. So he was inaccurate. His decision-making was off. He apparently was very bad at catchable passes this year. So, no. I think right now I completely agree with Sports Illustrated's article. The 49ers should not give Brock Purdy $60+ million a year just because he's the next guy up. Did we really make Deshaun Watson? Was he the standard for quarterback contracts when they gave him $230 million fully guaranteed? No, we had to wait until this season when Dak Prescott signed his $60 million a year season, where he surpassed that at $231 guaranteed. Deshaun Watson was a bad contract. Everybody understands that. And I think if we take a look at the weight that Dak Prescott's contract has, where he's making the most the quarterbacks ever made by $5 million average annual value, we're going to take a look at that. And if he doesn't make it to an NFC championship game or win a Super Bowl, we're going to be like, why are you paying Dak Prescott $60 million per year? That's going to be a bad contract. Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, we can understand why maybe Jordan Love will get that contract because he was the first 7 seed to make it to win a playoff game. And also, he went toe-to-toe with this 49ers team in the rain. And if it wasn't for, a couple plays here and there, a couple dropped interceptions, the Packers may have won that playoff game against the Niners. Trevor Lawrence won one playoff game and a comeback against the Chargers. Those are two questionable contracts because we didn't really see much in terms of long-term success, but yet they got paid. Joe Burrow makes sense. He made it to the Super Bowl and also was the only quarterback at the time to disrupt the Chiefs. Brock Purdy, and I thought there was a number out there earlier this year about the 49ers start with $45 million. I think that might be a touch high. I'd go around the $40 million range, but exactly right. Purdy's not a $50+ million quarterback because he goes along for the ride. And we saw last year when he doesn't have all his weapons out there, he's kind of just a decent quarterback. He's not the guy who's going for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't even the conversation from day one. Yet people were fighting about the prior year until Lamar decided, you know what, let me just take this conversation over and destroyed him. So 49ers should let him play out this last year. And if he does show levels of success that he had 2 years ago and wins the NFC West, then you can be like, okay.
Franchise tag him.
You could do that as well.
That's probably what it would be.
Well.
He won't be too happy about that.
Who cares? He's the last pick in the draft. There was a reason for that.
And you look at what the 49ers got out of him since they drafted him at the last player taken in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. He took him to the NFC Championship game in his first season when he came off the bench to replace all of injured quarterbacks. And I think they would have won that game against the Eagles if he hadn't gotten hurt. And then the next season, he took him to the Super Bowl, right? And in the Super Bowl, he played great. They were behind the fourth quarter. He brought them back, gave them the lead. They couldn't hang on to it. And they got him the lead in overtime, and they couldn't hang on to it and lost the game. So it wasn't on him at all. He had a very good game in the Super Bowl. And this past season, he had a down year for whatever reason. There were injuries on the team, but I guess not having CMC was a big blow. Ayuk being out for this, getting hurt with his ACL was big, and there were some other injuries on the team as well. It just didn't perform that well. Brock Purdy's done a lot for the 49ers, and I guess memories are short, right? Because now, when they said they were going to give him a big contract, now you don't hear so much about it. There hasn't been much talk at all. They haven't heard much of anything. Maybe they're busy with other things right now. I don't know. But the three factors that they got to look at is his performance, what they've got for money to pay him, and what the potential is for future quarterback options out there. I don't see too many. Some argue paying a high price for a quarterback that was drafted is Mr. Irrelevant, is risky, while others believe he's a valuable asset worth investing in based on the total package, what he's done for them since he came off the bench a couple of years ago and took him to the NFC Championship game and then went to the Super Bowl with him and played very well in that game. Nobody could criticize Brock Purdy for being the one that cost them that game. It was their defense. I'd say that given he had a down year in 2024, the 49ers have got the leverage, maybe mid-40s. Maybe he gets to $50 million. But if he refuses, they'd say, now in this day and age, I guess what you've done for us in the past for next to nothing. He played for almost nothing. I think they've gotten their value out of him for sure. If he refuses, tough luck. He can play out his final year of his contract. And guess what? If he plays really well, we're going to really reward you. We're going to give you the franchise tag. And then you're playing for 1 year on a high salary, but it's just 1 year. No assurances, no guarantees, nothing. That's really treating him well, huh? If I got an offer of $50 million and I'd never made any money, I'd take it. I think I would take that offer. That would let the 49ers off the hook a little bit for not giving, someone a big contract after a down year, so he wouldn't be setting a precedent. And you know what? He's young. He's still what? How old is he? 25? 3 years at 50 a year, $150 million, $100 million guaranteed.
$50 million.
You know what? And if he plays well,
train car.
If he plays well, then he's going to be up for another big contract. He's got plenty of time for more big contracts. So I'd say if the 49ers offered him high 40s, low 50s, just 50. I would, if I were him, I'd take it.
Are we sure, again, that he's worth that money?
Well, look at some of the other quarterbacks and what they've got. Trevor Lawrence,
who hasn't had anywhere near the level of weapons that Brock Purdy has.
Daniel Jones,
who never had any weapons, period. He made $40 million.
Deshaun Watson.
That was the stupidest contract in NFL history, arguably.
I mean, of the big contracts, the ones who've performed, Lamar has performed, right?
Won several MVPs.
He's earned his money.
Absolutely.
Joe Burrow.
Made it to a Super Bowl.
Joe Burrow has performed.
Just put up 4,900 yards.
Jalen Hurts, I'd say
won a Super Bowl. Made it to 2.
Yeah. So those contracts, is there any other big one out there? Dak Prescott, he got hurt.
Jared Goff
he didn't play that well. He didn't play that well.
Jared Goff
he's earned his money.
Justin Herbert has not.
I would say
he has not. Justin
Herbert hasn't, and Josh Allen has earned his money.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And he got
so most of the ones that got the big money have earned it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But we have to realize that Brock Purdy right now is not the conductor. He's a passenger. That's what he is right now. He's chilling in the 5th seat. That's what he is. Because if we look at who's the most valuable player or most valuable people in the San Francisco 49ers organization, it's Kyle Shanahan, it's Trent Williams, it's Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy.
Okay, well, I think there's one other factor that comes into play here, and that's team culture. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, last player drafted in the draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sits on the bench. The number 3 quarterback. Everyone else gets hurt.
So.
Comes in, plays phenomenally. Didn't lose a game. He didn't lose. He did not lose a game.
Right. But
gets hurt in the NFC champion. Takes him, wins 2 playoff games for them. Maybe didn't play the greatest in those 2 playoff games, but they did win. He didn't cost them the game. Didn't make any critical mistakes. Gets to the NFC championship game. Early in the game, he gets hurt. Badly hurt, so he couldn't even throw the ball. Goes back into the game and plays the game, okay? The next year, takes him to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Takes him to the Super Bowl, right? This past year, he a down year for him, admittedly, and there were injuries on the team, but the guy he's a team player. He's a team player. You don't hear him complaining. You don't hear him in the news doing something stupid. I think he's a quality guy. You look at his career so far, he's come from nowhere to be in a position to make a decent contract. Maybe I don't think he should get $60 million for having that down year. He should have forced their hand right after the Super Bowl.
Oh.
That would have been a better move.
Then he would fill into the category of not being the greatest of guys if he's forcing a contract.
Yeah, but now that they've forgotten all about everything.
Exactly.
They've forgotten about everything that he's done for them. They're treating him poorly.
It's a business.
It's a business, I agree. But they said they were going to give him a big contract, and now they're waffling. And look at some of the Trevor Lawrence getting over $55 million. To perform the way he performed last year. Brock Purdy's season was head and shoulders over
I agree.
Trevor Lawrence's.
100%.
And he played for $1 million.
Correct.
He got $1 million.
I think it probably was, $900K. So
yeah, something
I don't
like
even
that.
think it hit 7 digits.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for what you've done for our team and our franchise when you look at Brock Purdy's contract. And I do think
you could say the same thing about
I don't
Jimmy
think
Garoppolo.
he should get $60 million. I don't think he should get $60 million, but should he get 50? Yeah, I think maybe.
He did. So once again, he's done legitimately the exact same thing as Jimmy Garoppolo. And in that first season, after Garoppolo went down, since Christian McCaffrey got there, him and Brock Purdy had literally identical numbers.
Jimmy Garoppolo got good contracts when he was with the 49ers.
At one point, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, right. So it's not like he was treated poorly.
But that was like $27 million.
Okay, but things have changed. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Correct.
But it was the highest paid quarterback at one time in the NFL, right?
Yes.
And deservedly so.
Whoa, deservedly so.
Right. He took him to the Super Bowl. He took him to the NFC Championship game. How about the game in Green Bay? You know, the game where there was no way they were going to win that game. It was so brutally cold, and they beat Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
those things you should remember.
I will say
remember
this.
Those.
While Jimmy Garoppolo in that Green Bay game didn't do anything to cost his team the game, he did start that game off 0 for 7. So it's not like he was doing anything to help them succeed.
They won the game.
Correct. No, correct. And I picked them to win at the time, which was an absurd take because it is Aaron Rodgers' MVP year in Green Bay. It was freezing cold, which Rodgers excels at, freezing cold weather, and they somehow pulled it off, and it was a special teams thing as well. But to say that Brock Purdy is the highest paid quarterback, no. Because like I said, you put in Jimmy Garoppolo.
I wouldn't make him the highest paid quarterback.
You put in Brock Purdy.
They were talking about that, but you don't have to make him the highest paid quarterback. He's still really young. You could give him another 3-year contract at $50 million a year. That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
$50 million is a lot of money. That puts him in the top. That puts him in the upper echelon of quarterbacks. And the 49ers would save face there too.
What if they really need Christian McCaffrey and Christian McCaffrey's not the CMC that we know? Where you could go out, hand in the ball 25 times, have him catch 10 more passes, and score a touchdown every game.
How many quarterbacks had great seasons that didn't have any pieces around them and didn't have good players or elite players around them? Offensive pieces.
Okay, so Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Quentin Johnson can't catch a pass. You and I can maybe catch more passes than Quentin Johnson.
Justin Herbert didn't have that greatest season.
It went 11-6.
But that was more about the coaching and the defense than it was about
offense.
Justin
Herbert.
Herbert.
You talk about offense. Who did well?
I talk about offense. I don't think
Bo Nix in the Denver Broncos.
Okay, he had Sutton. Right?
Okay, Christian McCaffrey.
He had Mims. Mims played well.
Brock Purdy had Debo. If we're just going to list off guys who were pretty good.
Debo had several games where he was hurt.
Right,
he was hurt 2 games.
If we're just talking about guys who, define bad. At Debo's level, what are you calling the 49ers offense then? Garbage?
No, it wasn't.
They still
garbage.
had Trent Williams. They still had George Kittle. They still had Debo Samuel. So if we're saying, okay, who did nothing?
The running game was actually it was okay. The running game was okay with the.
It was above average
replacements.
Okay, yeah. If we're saying the 49ers have no talent.
No, I'm not saying they have no
talent.
Then how
about this? They lost talent. They lost even more.
Yeah.
Because they lost an offensive guard.
No, but they're
getting older. Their defense is gone.
No, but they have Pearsall now, and they have Jennings. They have Jennings.
Jennings, perfectly fine piece, but he was there last year.
And he
had 1 or 2 good games.
Maybe they draft another wide receiver.
But no, we do the rest. The 49ers defense was the reason why they were so successful, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo. 95% of their defense is gone. They lost their starting cornerback, their starting safety, a couple of their starting linebackers, a couple starting defensive tackles. So if the reason why the 49ers were so successful is because of their defense.
Okay. Let's take another angle at this.
Sure,
okay?
go for it.
Who are they going to get if they diss Brock Purdy and he winds up leaving him next year? Who would you say the 49ers' next quarterback will be?
Well, this draft. You have to tell me what
they're going to draft a quarterback in this draft.
Correct.
They're not high enough up the list to get anybody who's any good.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Who's around next year? Are they going to bomb this next year? Are they going to play for 2 wins so they get to pick a quarterback and let Brock Purdy go?
Well, the 49ers currently
that's not their strategy.
Based on the projection, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL.
Who would replace Brock Purdy? Who's better than him? Who's going to be better
A
than
lot
him?
of quarterbacks are better than Brock Purdy.
But who's available? Available quarterbacks. Who's going to be available?
Let's just go based on draft projections, and let's say the 49ers, even though they are projected to have the easiest schedule in the NFL next year, let's say they do the same exact thing. They go 6-11 because all of a sudden now they either get banged up or Brock Purdy's not as good. Let's just say that for the hypothetical situation. Because if we look at the draft right now, the 49ers currently have the 11th overall pick. If we're just playing God for a second and say the 49ers have a top 3 pick in the draft, and let's say they have the 3rd overall pick, and the first 2 teams don't need quarterbacks. Arch Manning. Arch Manning would be perfect.
That's a long shot.
What do you mean long
That's
shot?
a very long shot. A bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. Brock Purdy's done enough in his career so far to warrant a decent contract.
I'm not
It
saying
doesn't have to
pay
be
him
the
pennies.
biggest. Doesn't have to be the biggest contract out there. Doesn't have to be $65 million and what people were talking about before. But a good contract, something close to $50 million a year, with good guaranteed money in it. I think he'd sign it, and he'd be smart to sign it, and it lets the 49ers off the hook a little bit.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.